Hi everyone, Pastor Josh here with another Pastor's Ponderings. As I've been watching the Olympics and enjoying them this year, as I hope that you've been able to as well, I've been enjoying my favorite two events, which are hockey. The women's hockey team is playing very well this year. It's been exciting to watch them compete. But the other event that I always love watching is snowboarding. I know, right? Snowboarding, what a great sport. Uh, One of the first nights that I started watching the Olympics this year, Julia Marino took silver in slopestyle snowboarding, and it was just amazing to watch her incredible talent on display. As they were talking about her, in between the competitions and waiting for the judges to give her score. They talked about her life, they talked about her background, her love for the sport, but they also talked about the way in which snowboarding really is its own culture. And I began to think about that a bit more, and it's so true. And I'm not just talking about, people who walk around with the skateboarding shoes and their hat turned backwards and say, "What's up, dude?" I guess that's more of a uh, I guess that's mixing in um, more of a surfboarding culture, but you know what I mean, right? It's not just that surface level, but there's something incredible about these athletes who are snowboarders, and I think the most incredible aspect of that culture is the way in which when they fall, they're willing to get back up. Right? I mean, think about it. These snowboarders, they work so very hard on these various tricks. And think about how many times they have fallen in their effort to perfect these tricks, to work hard at the sport that they love. They're literally physically beaten up by the ground and by the sport that they love. It's mind blowing to me. When I was in middle school, I was a skateboarder. I know I got a skateboard for Christmas, and I thought that I could figure it out. Now, I had a couple things working against me. One is my abysmal sense of balance, but I really enjoyed trying out that new hobby. And as I began skateboarding, I found out pretty quickly just how hard the ground can hurt when you mess up that trick. But it seemed like the more and more I worked at skateboarding, the harder it was for me to get back on the skateboard. It was like I began to fear failure. I feared the idea of skinning my knee or breaking my arm. And eventually, I gave up on skateboarding altogether. Now, let's think about this in terms of our lives. The reality is that there are so many things that we love to do. There's so many things that we have to do. There's so many things that are in front of us that need to be done. And it's not quite so simple as hanging up the skateboard and letting it gather dust in your parents' garage, right? It's a little bit more difficult than that. You have to get back up on the snowboard. See, even though the world knocks us down, we have to keep getting back up. And that's something that I think we can learn from snowboarding culture, right? That we can learn from Julia Marino. The amount of times she has fallen is she probably doesn't even it doesn't even register how many times that is. You cannot keep track of that. And yet her willingness and her zeal for the sport kept her back up on her snowboard. It reminds me of St. Paul. He writes to the Philippians while he's in prison, and he writes these words: I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Now, looking at the Greek and reading over this passage time and time again, I find that this translation is a bit lacking. See, when Paul is talking about this, he is talking about the countless beatings he's had for the Lord, the stoning that he had for the Lord. uh, being put in prison, being persecuted left or right for the Lord. Even now, as he writes to the church in Philippi, he writes from prison. See, it's not about lifting mountains or going out and conquering the world. What he's talking about is just facing the day, having the energy, having the positivity, having the strength to get back up, even when he's being knocked down. See, I think a better translation here might be, I can endure all things through Christ who strengthens me. Because that's really what it's about. God strengthens us for the day. He takes care of us. He walks beside us. He guides us. But most of all, he gives us that strength to get back up even when we've been knocked down. So whatever you're going through in this life, whatever it faces, things you need to face in your future, and as you walk as a Christian in this world, whenever you get knocked down, know where your strength comes from. Know who walks beside you, and that he will give you the strength to face the day. Now let's go out there and get back up on our boards, huh? God's blessings. Take care.